Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah ma ba'd. Is it recommended that a person says Bismillah before pouring hot water down the sink? This is because we don't want to affect or harm any of the jinn, so we'll say Bismillah. Now, before we understand the issues surrounding this question, we need to understand firstly that humans are a race and the jinn are a race. And just like we within the human race have male and female, Muslim, non-Muslim, elderly, younger, the jinn have the same thing. There are Muslim jinns, there are non-Muslim jinns, there are male jinns, there are female jinns, there are elderly jinns, there are younger jinns. That's the first thing. Second thing, in its origin, the jinn, they do not live amongst the humans, and the humans do not live amongst the jinn. That's the base ruling. Except for if we've got dalil to suggest otherwise. So for example, the Messenger of Allah told us to say Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith before you go into the bathroom, because the area of where najasa normally is within humans' living space, there will be shayateen hanging around there. Or when you enter into your home, you should say Bismillah because the shayateen want to enter. But generally speaking, the jinn have their own living area and the humans have their own living area. And the evidence for this is the narration of Zayd ibn Arqam. The Messenger of Allah said, "Inna hadhihi al-hushush muhtadarra, فإذا أتى أحدكم الخلاء فليقل بسم الله." Or in another narration, فليقل اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الخبث والخبائث. To understand this narration, in Medina, and according to Arabia at that time, and even non-Arabia, even in other areas around the world, they didn't have bathrooms as part of the home as we have today. So if a people wanted to go, people in a village or a town or a city or in any given location, they would have a designated place where they would go to relieve themselves, to wash, to bathe, etc. That would be a separate away from their house. In this narration here, the Prophet ﷺ said to Zayd ibn Arqam, do not go to that vacant piece of land because it is muhtadarra, meaning there are jinn there. And if you go there, then you could be affecting them. Go to the other one. Go to another one, go to the one that we've got located, and when you go to defecate and relieve yourself, or even to wash or enter into this area of najasa, say Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith. In another narration, say Bismillah. So if there are jinn there, or if there are shayateen there, which are worse than the jinn, meaning the shayateen are part of the jinn, but they are the worst form of jinn, meaning in humans, you have good humans and bad humans, and then you've got really good humans, and then you've got really bad humans. It's the same thing with the jinn. You've got good jinn and bad jinn. Then you've got really good jinn. And then you've got really bad jinn. And the really bad jinn from the humans and the really bad jinn from the from the jinn, they are known as shayateen. The really bad humans and jinn, they are known as shayateen. So the Messenger of Allah said, if you go to this vacant land and you think that, okay, this is a safe place for me to, relieve myself and, put najasa into the ground, then still say Bismillah, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith, in order to protect yourself. With this now, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said that there are three ways. We'll add a fourth as well. There are three ways for us to know how jinns would normally break the divide and start interacting with humans. Meaning, like I said, in its default, there is a divide. Humans live their life and the jinn live theirs. But the jinn, out of one of these three ways, and we'll add a fourth, will sometimes break off that divide and start, having some kind of interaction with the humans. Whether it's through wiswas, whether it's through possession, whether it's just through them being mischievous and not possessing, but just mischievous. One of three ways. He said, number one, it could be that a jinn, male or female, falls in love with a human, male or female. And with that, if one of the jinns becomes infatuated in his love or her love towards that human, they will then be around them, say things, make them hear things, perhaps move things around the house and that kind of stuff. Or it could even lead to possession. Number one. Number two, it could be that they just want to be mischievous, because like we've said, that there are really bad jinns and there are bad jinns, and those bad jinns, just like bad humans, you have antisocial behavior, you have criminals and those kinds of things. And this is the same thing with the shayateen and the jinn. They might come into your home and, again, like move things around and break things, or do things which are, harmful and annoying the humans that are living there. That's the second reason. The third reason, it could be because you have harmed them. It could be because you've harmed them. And again, there's no dalil for this, not from the Quran or the Sunnah, but he is saying that this is based on tajrubah, this is based on experience, and this is something that even until now, Raqis, etc., are accustomed to. Why did you possess this person? Because he did such and such to me, or he did such and such something to my child, or something like that. And there's a well-known incident that happened, and this is, I think, what Shaykh Ibn Baz is talking about, but our Shaykh Abdul Aziz Sadhan narrated also that one time there was a person that was possessed by jinn, and they asked him, why you possessed this man? What has he done to you? And he said he poured hot water, or he basically put something in a place where we were living, and my child was affected by it. Now, again, remember, this is perhaps something that we don't really live with, but at that time, and even in certain locations in the world, you would go out to the countryside, and that's where you would do your business. You'd relieve yourself there, and you'd defecate and you'd wash and things like that. So the guidance from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ in this is that if it looks like a safe land, then you do not necessarily know. It could be that you're stepping upon a jinn civilization. You're living they've got their living space, and you are going to defecate or urinate or wash or put some water or put even just rubbish or something like that in an area where they are living, and they might not take that lightly. So if you are in a place where you think is safe, always say Bismillah, and this will protect you, and this will protect them as well. So going back to the issue here of pouring hot water, what is hot water? Number one, if we're talking about normal hot water, normal temperature hot water that comes out your tap, you don't need to say Bismillah for that. If you did, of course, that'd be khair, that'd be good, you're remembering Allah. But you don't need to, because that is not harmful. That is not harmful to man, and it shouldn't be harmful to jinn either, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. What we are talking about here is boiling hot water. And this is the issue that has been mentioned by Ibn Taymiyyah and others, like we have said, that have talked about their experiences with the shayateen and the jinn. And what they have said is that when you pour boiling hot water, that could harm a jinn just like it could harm a human being. So it's better for you to say Bismillah. And this is without doubt better for a person to do this. There is no doubt about that. But we have to also then bear in mind that this could also open the door for wasawis and people becoming paranoid, because people sometimes, when it comes to tahara and najasa and these kind of things, purification and impurities, they've already got a lot of wasawis. And if we're going to add this, then it will increase for them, in their obsessive, cleanliness disorders, etc. So what we will say to this person is, listen, in origin, humans live separate to jinn. So if you're pouring hot water, whether you're in the shower and it's really hot in the shower or in the tap, or if it's come out from the kettle or from where you're cooking or something like that, and you want to pour it down the sink, it's better for you to say Bismillah. But if you didn't say Bismillah, that shouldn't be harmful either anyway for you. Why? Because in origin, humans live separate to jinn, and your water is going to go down a duct, it's going to go down a waste pipe, and there is a flow of that water, and really jinn, the shayateen, realistically should not be living there. Therefore, it's better for you to say Bismillah, but if you didn't, there'll be no harm. But you also have to remember, the questioner here is presenting a statement from Shaykh Aziz bin Baz. You have to remember at that time, especially, I've lived in Arabia, and for people who have lived in Arabia, they will also know that they don't really have a flowing system like we do here. Now some areas are more advanced, but I would imagine 20, 30 years ago when Shaykh Aziz had said this, it probably would have been a bit more primitive still. Even now, they have water delivered to them in tankers. They don't have running water. This is because of the size of the country and, etc. So now, that's in most central areas. In certain coastal areas, such as Dammam and perhaps in Jeddah and Yanbu and maybe Makkah and Medina, they might have running water. But from what I've seen is that they have tankers delivered. So the point I'm making here is that there has to be a context to what we are saying here, which is that if you are pouring water down, of course it's better for you to say Bismillah, but let's not get into extremes in this, because the origin is that the jinn live separate from men, and inshallah they shouldn't be harmed. But as long as you can understand the principle, which is that you do not want to harm the jinn and the shayateen. So if you find yourself in a situation like, I don't know, you've gone to some, rural park, and you want to, take your child, or perhaps even yourself, behind the bush, or you want to sit down and you want to have a picnic, or you want to pour some water, or whatever it may be, you are not in your normal setting and comfort area, then it's better for you to say Bismillah. Why? Because the principle is that the shayateen, or the jinn even, can be affected in one of three ways. Either they have some kind of affection and infatuation with the humans, or you have done something to harm them, or they are just being mischievous. The fourth thing, which is connected to them being mischievous, which is the fourth way that divide can be broken, is if sihr has been done upon a person. May Allah protect us. Now this is again very important, because sometimes people suffer from wasawis, and they feel that they've got jinn possession, etc. Normally, I could be wrong in this, but normally the jinn possesses a person because he's been told to possess a person. Like I said, we're not saying that this is not a blanket statement. We're not saying that this applies to every single person, because like we've said, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah has said that jinn possession can happen in more than one way. But normally, nobody sends, a jinn doesn't just walk down the street and think, I'm just going to possess that person, and then refuse to leave. Normally, there is black magic that's been involved. So unless there is firm, evidence, and there is, an educated decision that has been made, then that conclusion shouldn't really be a conclusion. Unless if you've got evidence, okay, I saw this person, they did this, and I saw these things, and this happened to me, and experienced somebody taking some of my personal possessions, or something like that. Because normally the jinn doesn't possess humans unless if there is black magic. But like I said, there could be exceptions. You could have harmed them. They could be wanted to be mischievous. It could be that they've seen you, and they've seen, especially with sisters or even brothers who are, displaying their beauty and their attractiveness, etc. And they make it, that they are attractive to the opposite gender, but they don't realize that they could be attracting the opposite gender from a completely different race. That is also possible. And sometimes, last thing here, sometimes jinn possession can also be confused with ayn. So a person finds himself weak in his iman, having bad thoughts, feeling demotivated, not feeling that they have any khushu in worshipping Allah. Sometimes they might think that this is jinn possession, but it could actually be ayn. But again, in that case, and in the case of jinn possession, and in any case of any interaction with jinn, really you need to consult the experts, and then they will also review and look, discuss, and to see what the evidences are surrounding that issue, and then they will make a judgment and help the person make a judgment as to what has actually happened. In order for us to be protected from all of this, like we have seen in this fatwa and this advice from Shaykh al-Aziz bin Baz, is to remember Allah a great deal. If you remember Allah in the morning and the evening, of the morning and evening adhkar, and you say Bismillah plentiful when you are doing your actions, there's no action that you begin except that you say Bismillah, and you recite the Quran, added upon the wajibat that you should be fulfilling, and the mustahabbat, and staying away from the muharramat, those things which are haram and forbidden, and you are doing those things which are obligatory, and you are getting closer to Allah with goodness and khair, then Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah tells us something which is very important, which is that the shayateen and the jinn are more scared of a person who is pious than the person is scared of the jinn. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He helps us to complete for us our iman, and that He protects us wherever we may be. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.